On this edition of inCycle, we go inside the world of rider transfers.
There are lots of conversations happen now, so rider agents come and they talk to the teams and ask which kind of type riders you're looking for, climbers or GC contenders or sprinters or whatever.
We look at what the iconic Champs-Élysées means to the cycling community.
If you just had to pick one in terms of prestige and what everybody else would think about it, then you'd pick the Champs-Élysées.
But first, we're with 2011 Tour de France winner, Cadel Evans.
Physically, I'm much more suited to racing cross-country, and cross-country bike handling skills are so important. That helps me, whereas on the road, I like it a lot as well, but maybe I'm not physically so suited to a lot of road racing because I'm not particularly good in a bunch sprint. But yeah, they're both great disciplines, and so yeah, I do both.
One of the best Grand Tour riders of the past 2 decades, Cadel Evans remains best known for his Tour de France triumph back in 2011. But before becoming the first Australian to take home the maillot jaune, it was in another discipline that the former world road race champion's talent first became apparent.
I came to the sport of cycling through mountain bike, and it was kind of a little bit by accident. I needed to get transport around. I lived out in the country. Well, mountain bike's a good way to move around, and that's really how I started in cycling. Started riding to school, started riding with friends on the weekends. And for one of these friends said, "Oh, we should go and do a mountain bike race," and that's how I came into the sport. Started doing one race and another race, and actually before I knew it, I was going to the Olympics in Atlanta in 1996. But mountain biking for me was a fantastic school, one that brought me into the sport, and otherwise I never would have come to the sport, certainly not through track. Come on, Bart! As a mountain biker, I was just searching to be the best rider I could. I had this opportunity to travel around the world and be a professional from a sport that I loved. What that taught me is it taught me to be very specific with my training, my equipment preparation, and everything to get the best out of myself. When I went over to the road, the sport of road cycling was changing towards that, but I was already there in my mindset and my way I worked and the way I approached my job, my profession as a professional cyclist. But most of all, mountain biking taught me how to work well and get the best out of myself, and that's what helped me get make my best use of my career. I have to say, people who followed me, they were great supporters of me. They never had high expectations and they never had pressure, but they were so supportive of me, and people, funny even today, people are so grateful that I didn't give up. They were like happy that I won, but they were grateful for me. Thank you for not giving up. I hear this time and time again in Australia, which is really nice as a sports person to hear, because often you come second at the tour and the amount of criticism you get is incredible. But that on a human level is something I'm proud of, and of course very nice to hear. Right now, Australian cycling, of course, Richie Porter's been unlucky. I hope he's going to have 1 or 2 more opportunities to get his capabilities out on the road. Caleb Ewan's our next big thing to come through and at the Tour de France, and he's already coming through in other events, but he's certainly still very young for the results he's got, so I think he's got a long road ahead of him of the possibility to win a lot of big races. And then we're coming through with some next tier of younger riders, and there's a couple of riders with Grand Tour possibilities and potential. So we're following some of them, and I don't want to put any pressure on them now. But there's some good talent coming through who I think 5 years from now will be looking to think about being there in the 3rd week of the tour.
Cadel Evans to present.
Evans' proud legacy within Australian cycling is demonstrated by the name of the event he now helps run back in his home state of Victoria, the Cadel Evans Great Ocean Road Race, one of the few races to run so far in 2020 before the updated calendar.
It's very strange to have a race, the Cadel Evans Great Ocean Road Race. It's quite strange. My idea was the layout of the race and then quite a bit the course and so on, but it wasn't my idea to name the race like that. But I'm honoured that the Victorian government did that for me, and initially it was a little bit too much, and of course I flew in for the last event and with 100 or so of my colleagues, big banners on the side of the road and your photo on the banners by the freeway or on flags in the town of Geelong. That was of course something to get used to, but it's also for me it's a great way to give back to the sport and a great way to continue. For me, I've always been motivated to promote the sport of cycling. Cycling's given me a lot in my life. It's given me nearly everything in my life. And to continue in that through an event is the best way that I can continue that as a non-professional rider. Regarding the Great Ocean Road Race, my underlying dream and goal with that is that a little guy or a little girl will go there with their friends or their parents or their family and go there and they'll see the race, be inspired by seeing the male or female race go by, and maybe take up cycling and find their way and find a sport, find their calling in cycling, and one day become a professional and come back and win the race.
On the road, the Tour de France is cycling's most significant race. Away from the race itself, those 3 weeks in July also serve as another crucial rendezvous in the guise of cycling's unofficial transfer window, with August the 1st the date which teams can announce comings and goings for the next season. As inCycle found out when it investigated back in 2017, for team managers the Tour is often dominated by meetings and tense negotiations.
There are lots of conversations happen now, so rider agents come and they talk to the teams and ask which kind of type riders you're looking for, climbers or GC contenders or sprinters or whatever. Yeah, it's a busy time of the year. Like for the rest day for me yesterday I had meetings from like literally 8 in the morning till close to midnight. So it's a busy time.
But just who exactly are the team managers meeting with? The vast majority of rider agents working in cycling are not well-known names or faces, their low public profile sometimes being a deliberate move. One of the best known, though, is Dries Smets. The Belgian represents some of the biggest names in the sport, including Michael Matthews and Greg van Avermaet. With over 60 riders on his books, the Tour is Smets' most important work trip of the year.
In cycling, you can only negotiate contracts for riders who are at the end of their contract in the current year. So we do not go and sell riders that still have a year contract or even more left with their current team. That's different to other sports such as football, for example, where you can really do transfers being in a contract. That's not the case in cycling. So at the beginning of the year, we know which of our riders are at the end of their contracts with their team. Then we talk with them and we see, are they happy on their current team, or would they rather go and look elsewhere, and then see which teams they would be interested in. And then our job is to go and talk with those team managers and obviously also see if there's an interest from their side, because it needs to be a mutual interest in order to be able to conclude a contract. And so basically we explain to the team manager of those teams what the position of the rider is. Also sometimes, if things go well, you can talk about the good results, but sometimes riders have had some difficult times, and then you can explain why.
Despite the agents being the gatekeepers to the riders, team managers know they can serve a useful purpose in the rider-team relationship.
It's not to say that I've never gotten into it with an agent. I mean, clearly I have. I mean, you develop an emotional connection with the riders on the race and training them and coaching them and, so on and so forth. And then all of a sudden you get to discussing money, and that emotional connection can really erode. Having an intermediary where you can just negotiate on a business level and not on a friendship, coaching, whatever level is, I think, really helpful.
In cycling, I think we all try to respect the rules, and team managers also, they respect the rules in that matter. So it's I think it's a very correct business we do, as opposed to sometimes in the stories you hear from other sports. It's a very controlled market. You've got 18 World Tour teams, you've got around 18 or 20 pro continental teams, and that's it. That's the whole market. So in football, you've got thousands of football teams all around the world, so it's very less controlled. We also take care of their taxes, insurances, administration problems, residency issues, which is becoming more and more an issue for a lot of guys, for Australians, for Americans coming over to Europe, getting a visa done for them. So we really try to give them a full service package, not just only negotiating their team contract and then, bye-bye and see you again in 2 years' time when your contract runs out, but really being there on a daily basis for them for any problem they might have linked to their profession.
Without the face-to-face meetings at the Tour and the potential damage to team finances caused by the global situation, 2020 looks certain to be a very different year in the rider transfer market. Since 2015, inCycle has been on the hunt for little stories others may have missed from inside the Tour de France. Over the years, the lead-out has heard about some of the not-so-serious goings-on within the peloton, and it's time now to look back at some of the best, including hair and beard care with Daniel Oss and Dylan van Baarle. But first, ovine inspiration for Trek in 2015.
It's Herman, and it came with us. He started to be part of the Trek Factory racing in the Giro, so has been in the service course. And now, of course, Tour de France is the biggest event in cycling, and it's with us, no? It is our 10th rider. I mean, it's the 10th member of Trek Factory Racing. Hopefully, it's gonna come as some good luck. And hopefully I think that it's going to be famous at the end of the Tour de France.
And does anyone give him a hug at the end of the stage if they've had a bad stage?
Okay, yesterday it was so hot that I don't think that many they were touching the ship, no? But okay, sometimes I think that when for sure in the Pyrenees and when the bad days are coming, I think that it's gonna be nice, no, to be close to them. I think that some of them they use sometimes like a pillow when they are sleeping in the bus. But okay, I think that we need to take care of it, no?
3 weeks can be a long time to go without a haircut or shave. Luckily for the riders in 2015, there was a place where that could be taken care of.
Okay, Dylan, can you tell us why you've come to the barbershop today?
Yeah, because my beard was a little bit too long. And I made an appointment 2 days ago. And now we are here. It's something of a cyclist. You always want to look clean and everything. And that's why I came to here. I shaved myself before the tour and then in the middle of the tour now, so yeah, it will be enough.
Dylan, do you think it's going to help your aerodynamics?
I hope so. I think it's better for your aerodynamics, but I think it's so less.
Au Tour de France, en fait, on a été embauché par la marque Bic qui voulait créer un stand barbier sur le village départ du Tour de France et qui a fait appel à nos services. Alors le style le plus populaire chez les cyclistes, on va dire que c'est plutôt la barbe de 3 jours ou le rasage intégral comme aujourd'hui. Et après, on a quelques cyclistes qui deviennent quand même barbus.
In the age of social media, it's easy for riders to keep fans informed, although at 2016's Tour, Vegard Breen had a more original approach.
I wanted to update my followers and friends that's following me and give my followers some insights and about all the different things we actually experience when we are riding a bike race like this.
And I spotted on this one it says no bathroom incidents before meeting the fans today. Yeah. Can you talk us through what that means?
I was in the bus and as usual I had to go to use the bathroom and after 30 seconds or so suddenly they start shouting my names outside the bus really loud and cheering, and obviously I had to go out, but yeah, I was busy. So,
what are some of your favourite anecdotes that you put on these newsletters?
We start Tourmalet in a bunch and maybe in 20 position in the wheel of Froome, and I hear he's telling his teammates, "Let's go," and I was like, No, not now. This is too early. It's still 150 to go, or 100 k's to go to the finish.
Finishing the Tour's easier said than done, so finishing last place is nothing to be sniffed at. Or maybe so for 2016 Lanterne Rouge, Sam Bennett.
That seeing as this Tour has the most finishes ever, 175, that makes you the lowest placed rider in Tour history.
That is brilliant from Marat. Thank you for that. That's...
So I'd say that before you hit the Champs-Élysées.
Yeah, no. That's interesting.
People make a lot of money out of that kind of thing, though.
Yeah, but I've got no invites to any crits or anything, so poster crits, so I don't know.
Okay, well, here's the shout out now for a few crits, and you can win a washing machine or whatever they used to win.
Yeah, call me.
In 2019, Bora Hansgrohe let inCycle under Daniel Oss's helmet for the story behind his luscious locks.
Okay, Daniel, normally riders shave off all their hair before the Tour de France, but you have hair that's probably longest it's ever been, is it?
Yeah, almost. I mean, but I don't see problems, I guess. I mean, it's like I make a tail and it's not hot at all. I don't know, even it's helping when I sweat a lot, everything is in the hair, so it's helping me, it's like hairbrush.
And how do you take care of such beautiful locks?
How? Shower, good special products, and I have to, you know, I speak with my hair before night, and yeah.
What do you tell your hair?
Don't worry, tomorrow will be better.
On the terrace of the Arc de Triomphe, Bernard Thévenet was the first rider to win the yellow jersey on the Champs-Élysées. Since 1975, one of the most famous stretches of road in the world has been one of cycling's most iconic stadiums and witnessed some extraordinary moments.
If you just had to pick one in terms of prestige and what everybody else would think about it, then you'd pick the Champs-Élysées.
That's the ultimate goal. You want to survive. You want to arrive on the Champs-Élysées in Paris. To have that beautiful lap of honor there.
It's the most beautiful city in the world, no doubt. It's just the architecture, the history, but no doubt the Tour de France has enhanced that beauty.
Well, one of the best wins was when Bernardino won wearing the yellow jersey. That's a class of a man doing it, the ultimate performance of his career, and a Frenchman at that.
C'est difficile d'imaginer quelque chose de plus grand que les Champs-Élysées. C'est l'une des plus belles avenues du monde. Il y a énormément de spectateurs, donc je vois pas comment on pourrait faire mieux. Surtout en France.
We have about 1,500 people, cyclists. 500 of them are in the World Tour. 200 start the Tour, and maybe 160, 150 survive the Tour. So it's a very elite group of people actually arriving in Paris, and if you can be part of that. But it's still a vicious, hard race. It's like all this easygoing parade until you first time cross the finish line, and that is like in the old tradition, the start signal for the real race. Everybody's free to go. Out of respect, you let the yellow jersey team cross the Champs-Élysées first time in front, but as soon as we hit the finish line the first time, and they had their picture taken with the yellow jersey in the front, the race is open, and race, like really race.
C'est vrai que c'est dur, mais c'est pour tout le monde. Donc tout le monde le sait, mais je pense que quand on arrive le dernier jour, on oublie que c'est difficile. On a tellement envie d'aller jusqu'au bout et à l'occasion de gagner qu'on ne s'aperçoit pas que c'est difficile.
All the suffering you've been through over the 3.5 weeks, and you ride into Paris, you know, you see the Eiffel Tower, you get goosebumps. You ride onto the Champs-Élysées and there's, you know, I don't know, 1 million people or whatever it is, just go absolutely wild as the bunch turns onto the Champs. And one of the special things for me, and I'm even getting goosebumps right now, is we used to turn on and I always knew roughly where my family was sitting, and they were waving an Australian flag, and I could always have a quick look as I was following the wheels and give them a little wave. My wife was there and my son, so that was always really special. And so the atmosphere of the Champs-Élysées was definitely above all the rest.
C'est le rêve de tout coureur français d'arriver sur les Champs-Élysées et de gagner, quelle que soit la manière, que ce soit au sprint ou que ce soit échappé. Mais c'est pas évident, parce qu'il y a beaucoup de concurrents pour la victoire finale, surtout sur les Champs-Élysées qui est prestigieuse.
Many observe, others sacrifice themselves for the team. A few cement their jersey on the final day, or simply, if you're a sprinter, surviving for one last chance to shine. The Champs-Élysées is always in the back of your mind.
They said it's an easy day. So I didn't really eat much because it's an easy day. Nobody told me that you go full gas from the first time finish line. So I was like hunger flat, sugar flat. I'm like, why these idiots didn't tell me? It's such a hard race. So I was like a little mad at them, and then I'm in the team bus and like, cracking open a beer, having a piece of pizza. Oh, tour's done. Oh, how good is that? They said, yes, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm just relaxing and having my beer and my pizza. I said, no, get dressed, we gotta go again. It's like, no, we don't, the tour is finished. And they didn't tell me about the lap of honor. I have done 17 years of cycling until I finished my first Tour de France. And like in this first seconds on this lap of honor, the first time, like I was so overwhelmed by the emotions and the support of the people watching it that I went, all the 17 years, it's worth for this one moment here now. This is worth all the suffering, the risk, the crashes and everything. That was beautiful. Definitely, it was beautiful.
The best arrival for me, although Laurent Fignon would never agree, was when Laurent lost the Tour in the last day time trial in '89. Greg LeMond was the winner. There was Cathy and Greg LeMond standing at my feet while I was commentating. They were screaming and leaping for joy. On the left-hand side, Laurent Fignon was lying on the road. The realization that he just lost the Tour de France by 8 seconds.
I realized when you watch the Tour de France, why I think people love that Tour de France is that it was Fignon. It was I had the others, he had it. And it came down to 8 seconds, which is unique.
1997 was my first time on the Champs, my first Tour de France, and I think I was more excited than anything else. I wasn't nervous. I was trying really hard, and it was very tough. But I was just excited to be there and just enjoying riding up and down.
When you're racing, it's kind of a blur of the crowds. You really just you're in tunnel vision when you're racing. And so then when you win, you're surrounded by journalists, your family. You're really not seen outside of that group. But when I won, it was about as good a feeling as you can get. Kind of one of those things you wish you could repeat.
This is the most hallowed street in Europe. It's special. And it's the only place you should finish the best sporting event in the world.
That's all for this week. Until next time, keep up to date with us on social media.